Donald Trump last week was indicted on 34 felony counts, including paying hush money to a porn star during the 2016 presidential election. He pleaded not guilty to all those charges. So what lies ahead for the former U.S. president? For more on the complicated legal drama, we turn to Professor Emeritus William C from Syracuse University College of Law. Welcome to the program.
It's nice to be with you. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Now, the events underlying the charges against Trump took place nearly 7 years ago. Why did it take that much time for him to be indicted?
Actually, the investigation did begin almost that many years ago, but there was a different district attorney in the office in New York at that time, and he ultimately determined that they lacked sufficient evidence to obtain a conviction. So decided in the end not to bring a case, but there was an election for a new district attorney, and the new district attorney decided to take another look at the matter, convene a new grand jury, and this time the grand jury chose to make an indictment. So it took a long time, but the result is pretty clear.
Right. It could have taken longer, I assume, but Trump faced a court in Manhattan last week. As widely expected, he insisted on his innocence. Professor, what will happen next now? I mean, how likely is it that he will end up in jail?
I think that in the end, it's highly unlikely that the former president will end up in jail, but this is in what we call, and what I'm sure you in South Korea call, a white-collar crime case. They happen every day. What happens next is discovery. That is, the lawyers for Mr. Trump and the lawyers for the city of New York will begin to investigate, to learn what each side has, what arguments they're planning to make. Motions will be made by Mr. Trump, I'm sure, to dismiss the charges and then to narrow them in some respects. Often in these kinds of cases that do not involve a former president, some kind of settlement is reached that would allow the parties to come to terms before trial. It's unclear whether that would happen in this case because, of course, I think Mr. Trump at this time is benefiting from the political exposure that having been indicted is providing to him.
Right. And also at the same time, this whole legal battle comes at such a busy time for Trump as he looks to run for another presidency. Professor, the question is, can the man still run for president? Will this drama be a barrier against his political ambitions?
Yes, it's certainly not a barrier in a legal sense. There's no provision in law, in the Constitution or otherwise, that stands in the way of someone who's been charged with a crime from running for president, or for that matter, for being elected president. And as I said a moment ago, I think at this moment, the former president is benefiting from the additional exposure that having been indicted is providing to his presidential campaign. That benefit, I think, will wear off. It may wear off very quickly. And as you probably know, and many of your viewers know, the former president is under investigation in another state in the United States, Georgia, and investigation by federal prosecutors. So his legal troubles in a criminal sense are certainly not over.
Right. Lots of things on his table at the moment. Now, a leader's indictment is nothing new here in South Korea, but it is in American history, right? Trump becoming the first current or former U.S. president to be charged with the crime. Now, how significant is this unprecedented situation?
I think it's quite significant, and it's important for you to point it out that this has never happened in the history of the United States. I think many of us view this as a unique situation that's highly unlikely to recur. As president, Donald Trump was a very unique individual in the presidency. He largely chose not to abide by the traditional norms of the presidency, maybe not even the laws that bind the president. So I think we may be looking at a one-off here, something that's not likely to repeat itself. But many of us are concerned that if former President Trump runs again, and if he's the nominee for the Republican Party again, that we could be confronted by some of the same issues that we had in 2020 and again in the years during his presidency. So it's a fraught time. I'd say it's a time that we all need to pay careful attention to these developments.
Right. Took 7 years and maybe more to come.
That's right.
All right. Thank you so much for your insight and joining us all the way from Tucson this morning, Professor Banks.
Thank you. Good to be here.